Howdy doody, it's your boy Zealand-ism coming in hot with your... I don't know what day it is. Okay, anyways, that's not important. You don't pay me the big bucks to tell you what fucking day it is, all right? You pay me the big bucks to have shit takes about interesting things. And that's what we're here for. Crotchgate 2025, baby. Crotchgate. This is Kylian Mbappe's junk on the front page. Except it's not. It's actually a picture of Antonio Rudiger looking like he's trying to cosplay the Joker. So that's fun. But what is happening here is Real Madrid has gotten itself in a smidge of trouble, a sprinkling of trouble. They've gotten themselves in a spicy, hot tamale of a situation. That's because Real Madrid celebrated a little too hard against Atletico Madrid. They did, apparently. According to, I believe it's UEFA that's investigating the incident, although I don't know. They've been charged, but like even this article in the Times, which thank you to Gary Jacob, the Times here for writing this piece, but they don't necessarily say like who's doing the charging. I would imagine it's UEFA because they run the Champions League. It would be weird if it was anything other than UEFA. So these charges come down, and it's for 4 different players in their celebration after the Atletico Madrid match. Now, I'm just going to refresh your memory because it feels like it was a lifetime ago, but this is the match that Julian Alvarez double-touched the ball. It's the match that Real Madrid, stole the heart out of the chest of every Atletico Madrid fan, did what Real Madrid always does, and there was a lot of celebrating that went on after that. But there are potentially serious ramifications to this. And what it would affect is the Champions League quarterfinal first leg, which is at the Emirates. This is Arsenal's home match is the first leg, and any suspensions or whatever that come out of this would have to do with that match. So as silly as Crotchgate sounds, right, there is an actual, like a level of importance here. And then there's also the very important consideration that the game's gone, as you might have heard. But the 4 people charged are Kylian Mbappe, Antonio Rudiger, you've already figured those 2 out, Vinny Jr., and Dani Ceballos. So if any or all of those players are suspended for the match against Arsenal, that's a pretty important contingent. That's, 3 of the 7 or 8 best players in the team at least. I don't know where you're falling with Rudiger on that, but I think Vinny and Kylian are obviously 2 of the top 2 or 3 players in the team, right? Dani Ceballos is obviously somebody that's also important to the team to have around. It would be a miss if he wasn't there for Real Madrid. So important players on the line. Now, what did each of them do? Shout out to the Times for the detail here. Mbappe has been accused of making an indecent gesture by touching his genitals, to which I have to ask a very important question. What if his balls itched? Look, I'm just asking a hard-hitting, important questions, all right? I mean, seriously, though, do we have an answer to that? Can we get it? Whatever. Rudiger was photographed on the pitch, seemingly making a throat-slitting gesture in the direction of the home fans. Is this defined as seemingly? Or like, do we really need to include like the journalist? I respect the rigor, the journalistic rigor, but do we really need to go with the allegedly here? This isn't a criminal proceeding. We don't have a constitutional or legal obligation, whatever country you're in, right, to uphold innocent until proven guilty. This is a UEFA proceeding here, and it looks like he did it. I'm just going to say. Well, Vinicius is facing allegations of provoking the crowd and making a gesture in the direction of Atletico spectators as he walked off. I mean, Vinicius being accused of provoking the crowd basically is true for every single game the guy's ever played. And then Ceballos, the former Arsenal midfielder, allegedly made an obscene gesture as he headed down the tunnel. Question, of course, is what's the obscene gesture? Now, this has been brought up by Atletico Madrid, which I am obviously aware of the irony that goes into that because Atletico Madrid, I can't even imagine how many suspensions they would have been able to produce if they had won that match in a penalty shootout. But now that they lost, right, you're going to go ahead and file a complaint against the other team. It's only fair, right? This is what rivals are supposed to do. They're supposed to, they're supposed to file complaints against each other until the end of time. That's the name of the game. Do whatever you can to ruin everything for your rival. They filed the formal complaint in a similar case. This is where things get this is where the rubber meets the road in this story. Now that you know what happened, what's going on. In a similar case prosecuted by UEFA at the European Championships, the Euros finals last year, Jude Bellingham was given a 1-game ban, suspended for a probational period of 1 year. So basically, if you remember this, Jude Bellingham grabbed his nuts, right? Just grabbed the whole ball hammock right after scoring a goal against, I think it was Slovakia, with seconds to go to save England in the Euros, right? And it's, I'm pretty sure caveman, like a caveman, if he threw a rock farther than his friend would have hit him with like, like, sack up, son, probably said it exactly like that. That was how they spoke 50,000 years ago. But it's a very old gesture, right? Of, hell yeah, I just did that to you, kind of sort of, what's up, huh? Fool sort of thing. And Jude Bellingham did it, and he got a 1-game sentence, which was suspended over a probationary period. Now, what this means, although that's kind of hilariously complex for the world of football, is basically over the next year, if he does something else, that 1-game suspension can be triggered because he's basically on probation. He was also fined £25,000, which, who gives a shit considering how much money these guys make, right? That's probably just paying for somebody's vacation at the Euros, at UEFA's offices, which, fair enough, right? Go ahead and collect your money. Now, the rule itself is violating the basic rules of decent conduct, which, let's be honest, is an unbelievably broad rule. Like, I don't know how you actually go about enforcing violating the basic rules of decent conduct. You just kind of set precedents and follow them. And if we are setting precedents and following them, then you can expect Kylian Mbappe to get a 1-game ban that is that is a probationary period of 1 year, right? That 1-game ban can kick in if he violates his probation of violating the basic rules of decent conduct. As for the other three, I mean, maybe Vinny and Danny Ceballos get a little bit of a fine. Maybe Danny Ceballos grabbed his nuts too, right? In which case he's going to get a suspended ban. The one that I don't know if it has a precedent is the throat-slitting gesture directly at the fans. I know particularly in South America, we've talked about on this channel before, various incidents where the federations are like overly concerned about antagonizing the other team's fans, right? They're suspending managers for like years just for celebrating in the direction of the other team's fans because they're so worried about the potential fan violence here. Rudiger doing this, I wouldn't be surprised if he got the same ban, the same like 1-game ban on a probationary period. What I would be surprised by is if any of these guys actually missed the Arsenal match. So if you're an Arsenal fan and you're looking at this and you're like, ooh, no, shut up. Stop that right now. Think about the lengths Florentino Perez and Real Madrid would go if one of their superstar players was suspended for this, right? I mean, they would threaten to pull the team out of the Champions League. That would not surprise me. And I think that also if you're in UEFA's office, you know that. That's why they do stuff like that. That's why the biggest clubs do stuff like that. They throw these big threats around because they know how important they are to the competition. I think legitimately, if they suspended Kylian Mbappe and Vinny for the first leg, the Real Madrid would threaten to pull out of the competition. I don't know if they'd actually do it. They definitely talk about it. And they, try to do some sort of protest, whatever it ends up being, whatever shape it ends up taking, that's something they would try to do. Beside that, though, I mean, I get that you don't want to have players on the field grabbing their nuts towards the opposing fans and that going unpunished, right? I totally get that, right? It's bad for marketing and advertising and whatever, right? But the Vinny one in particular seems like a nothing burger. Like maybe you want to avoid like wanton references of violence towards the other fans like this. Like I love saying game's gone as much as the next person, but you don't want players to be able to pull up and pretend to like shoot guns into the opposition. Like you don't want kind of violent gestures, like suggestions of violence towards the opposition fans. I get that. I do. I don't think the penalty should be big. I think it should just be a, hey, you shouldn't do that, don't do it again, sort of penalty. I don't have a problem with them not being suspended for the match. I think that would be an overreaction. I think that would be way too big. And things like Vinny, he was antagonizing the opposition fans. As long as he's not being violent or sexual in a way that's going to turn off advertisers or make you not want to let young kids watch the match, then I don't have a problem with it. I really don't. Where I think the game is gone is the idea that you can't kind of have a back and forth with the opposition fans, and that's such a beautiful part of the game. I don't want us to lose. I think it would, I think that would be an overreach if anything came of it. And it might just be because they included him in the complaint. That's why it's here, but I'd be surprised if UEFA actually prosecuted that unless there's something on video that I haven't seen, right? Maybe he did do something horrible. I got to throw that out there. and he deserves whatever's coming down to him, but that's at least not what it says here in this reporting.